Go ahead, Pastor Stewart, if you can jump us off, please.
Let us go ahead and pray. Father God, we thank you so much today for being the one who moves us, being the one who sustains us, and being the one who enlightens us. God, today, we need you to shine like you do through that diamond, Father, allowing different colors to be expressed and broken down, but yet ambiently clear for all of your children to hear. God, I also ask that you would give us the wisdom that's passed down through our DNA, through our forefathers and our forefathers and their forefathers, Lord, until we reach your throne and the breath that you gave Adam in the garden. God, we ask last but not least that you would also give people the need, to feel the need to run across this, but more importantly, to share. In your name would you pray. Amen.
Amen. All right. So
Pierre's audio still not on. He's got not sure what's going on.
Did he leave and come back? That he left on his own?
Yeah. I didn't get. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna start. And we'll catch him up, because I can't imagine what's going on. It could be the spooks. So, all right. This is a question we started everybody off with last time, and so it's been some time since last time. Please assess the current state of Corona or COVID. How it's affecting you, albeit personal, professionally, or psychologically. And I'll start it out with Dr. Gay.
For me, it continues to be a source of some stress. Obviously, in just about every endeavor that you see. Business-wise, financially, medically, even, relates to education, the school systems, and even amongst a lot of folks who are still skeptical about getting vaccinated. So as far as, what I can offer, I would say, please get vaccinated if you have the opportunity. The latest news out of Europe with AstraZeneca's problems. I think the European boards over there are being very, 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 very careful. The side effects that they're worried about are very rare, but blood clots and bleeding disorders and those types of things. Statistically, there's not a lot of evidence that shows that those side effects are a real problem, but I think what they're doing in Europe has some merit. If there are any questions about that data, they need to slow down that vaccination program before there is a real problem, which could be folks getting really sick because of it. But luckily in our country, the big ones here, Pfizer, Moderna, and I guess now Johnson & Johnson have been pretty consistent in their profiles. So my advice is everybody get vaccinated as long as you can, and continue to wear your masks, because that's the way you're going to continue to slow down the spread.
Okay. All right. I'll throw it to Dr. Jared Conrad. Talk to us about the state of COVID, where we're at.
Absolutely. I think personally, I think I told you all last time, we try to be proactive and try to figure out what can we do so we can come out of COVID stronger than we went into it.
Okay.
So I think I think I got the echo from Kier again.
Yeah.
So we've still tried, we've still been on that, we still, I was joking, with my line brothers that, COVID, I'm learning all kind of new skills, chef, carpenter, plumber, because ain't nobody coming in my house to fix anything. So I'm putting stuff together. I'm cold now. I ain't got to call nobody for anything.
Man.
So again, I've just tried to deal with the hand that I've been dealt. That's what I've had to do all my life. And I've tried to adjust and come out stronger. And, we feel good. We had parent-teacher conferences with our kids. They're 7 and 9. The parent-teacher conferences went well. They don't see any academic decline from their standpoint. And so again, we're just trying to make the best hand with what we have. That bigger picture wise, I'm concerned there's so much misinformation and, there's, different states are doing it differently. Different cities are doing it differently. All that would be great, except what one city does ultimately affects all of us. So that's what concerns me.
Hey, well said. And they're talking about booting the governor here in California over COVID. So not sure if Kier is ready yet. So we're gonna bump it up to Brother Lambert, Attorney Lambert. What say ye? How's it affecting your business or your life or your social life or anything?
Well, I think it's affected everybody's lives from the standpoint that you can't leave your house without having something on your face. And then when you go to where you're going, you've got protocols that are in place that are different depending upon the people you're around, the atmospheres that you're around and within, and the attitudes and expectations that people have. But ultimately, when it comes down to it, I think we're all wanting the same thing. What's frustrating for me is that I think there is so much misinformation and there's such a diverse set of narratives that make it difficult for people to know what's what. What we do know is that the efficacy of these, at least the Moderna and the Pfizer inoculations, is that it's between 95 and 98% effective. But I just saw a statistic earlier today that was talking about how 50% of Republican men are unwilling to take the shot, and 34% of Republican women are unwilling to take the shot. So it's been politicized so much that it's really frustrating. It's prevented me in a lot of ways from moving forward and representing the people that I do represent. Can't try cases here in Cook County like it would otherwise have been. And that affects whether or not you're able to bring resolution to people in situations where they've been dramatically affected by instances that have altered their lives. So it's frustrating, but I think we have to kind of stay focused and make sure we do what we can to try and overcome this. I think it's doable. I think that we're better than we were, but I think we got a long way to go.
Okay, thanks for sharing, brother. Pastor Stewart.
Oh man, what the difference 2 or 3 months will make in your life. My perception of how it affected us then and how it's affecting us now is two totally different ways. But to stay consistent with what we had before, I think the biggest thing is to be the opportunist. Is that we've had a lot of situations go on in church. I believe the church culture at large was very stubborn and not wanting to make an online ministry, as much as they were also very stale in our involvement in the community. And so a lot of this has offered us opportunities that we would not have chosen to do. We had to be forced into it. So from that standpoint, man, it's been, in some regards, an answer to prayer. But then other sides of it's been very exposing and leaving you vulnerable with a blind side. It definitely blindsided us. And so, and now, I guess since we're recording this later, if y'all don't mind giving an update, I'm irritated because, the CDC done said that we can go back to church or we can gather indoors. At one point in time, they said we can gather indoors for those who had the vaccine. And, now, I'm sorry, I almost said something rude. No, I'm going to say it. Now these crackheads want to go back to church. And it's like, it's frustrating because the ones bugging me ain't doing much and the ones doing much ain't bugging me. So, now, ready or not, here I come, Lauren Hill. I got to go ahead and get this thing ready to set up because the other side of it is swindlers, man. We got some dudes who are, preying on church members, to get them to drift. And there's a side of me that everybody, the narrative being preached is ego. And I wouldn't disagree with that for some of us who, you got to have an ego to think that 3,000 people need to hear what only you got to say. But there's the other side of it where I am sincerely concerned because there are people who are always, and I think we all visit here momentarily, there are people on the edge of faith and crazy. And then there's people on the edge of sensual and sensational. And between all of those places, I am stuck in the middle. And I'm in between good people who can get pulled away and faith. to know that everything enemies and the system tries and the spooks try to take away, to know that God can always replace them and bring either them back or bring somebody new. So it's a real funky spot, man.
Well, before I go to Dr. Honore, did you say that the CDC is opening the church, but is it contingent upon like everyone having taken a vaccination? Is that what I heard?
Not just church. They said on one day that you can, if all the people have had a vaccination together, it was safe for them to gather indoors without a mask. That was the statement. And look, maybe I misunderstood that. So
I got you.
Dr. Gay, fix it for me.
I hear you. No, I hear you. Well, we're gonna get there. We'll go ahead, Dr. Gay, because I want to get it to Dr. Honore.
So really quickly, so the one thing that came down was if, and this was very specific for my surgery center and our staff there, if everybody in the facility, or if people can gather inside and without masks, say in a lounge kind of situation, if you've had both vaccinations, that's the key. And so when we are still around patients, when we are still around patients, I wear my mask. And Pastor, I'm telling you, I will relate this story very quickly. Early on, when I was covering the intensive care unit, when our surgery volume was slow, I volunteered to go to the hospital and took care of ICU COVID patients. One of the most tragic things that I noticed, or patients I took care of, was a lady who, this was back in March, April of last year, they were still going to church. She died, her husband died, multiple members of her family died, the pastor died. There were about 15, 20 people from the congregation that passed away. So I will tell you, if you open church again, make sure your folks are wearing their masks and keep them separated if you can. You can congregate if it's your family unit, but you need to, and that's the toughest part as you're talking about, because people want faith and they want to see their pastors and congregate amongst their folks they know.
Correct. But that's how you spread it. Yeah. But we're gonna get there because not having that could kill you too. But Dr. Honore, can you address the first question, current state of COVID on you, professionally? I know you're an ER physician, your psychology, and also maybe even personal or even in your pocket.
How you doing, everybody? Well, we are still seeing COVID cases every day. People don't understand it. It's still going on. There's still COVID cases, COVID diagnosis every day. What I'm seeing a trend in is a younger population now. People are not. Some people are still super sick coming in, but most people are not as sick coming in. And the numbers are going down because people have been socially distanced. People have been inside. I think part of that was because of the whole weather, the cold snap around the country for a while. So that kept people in, which helped in the long run too. But also because the vaccinations are rolling out. People are getting vaccinated, definitely. I think it's now up to, I think 11% of the population is now vaccinated, like got 2 doses in, 11%, which is moving. I mean, it's moving, but we're still seeing cases. Don't get it wrong. It's still there. COVID is still present. The concerns I have are travelers. Travel. CDC still recommends no non-essential travel. It's still a recommendation in the CDC. Is no non-essential travel. If you have to travel for work, that's a different story, or check on whatever. But people are hanging out for spring break.
Right.
I mean, it's not that time yet. Now's the time to just stay inside, get your vaccines, get vaccinated fully. And one of the things that Dr. Gay mentioned was the CDC. If people have had full vaccination, like the whole office. And like they say that about friends and family. If your whole family unit has had vaccinations, you can safely sit without masks. But if there's anyone who has a high risk of deterioration, who you got to still be careful if you encounter anybody who has a high risk of issues. There's a caveat with the maskless. If you're around anybody else who who has a risk of becoming very sick without, I'm talking about without the vaccine. Say you're around family, everybody has a vaccine, but you have the potential for, like, say you got, one of your family members, you still got to be a little careful too. Just know.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
all. Just don't keep wearing your mask. That's what I'm saying.
and it kind of sounds to me like the vaccine then is like another preventative method along with everything else that we're going to talk about
You
later.
got it.
But Dr. Honore, and I just want you to cover this, and then we're going to go to the next question.
Sure thing.
Just kind of, and if you have to, Dr. Gay, chime in if he misses something. But can you briefly just break down what the coronavirus is, and emphasis is on briefly.
Okay, yeah. Coronavirus is a virus like any other virus, but it is new to the body. It's caused by the SARS-CoV-2 virus, which is a new virus we had never seen before. And and long story short, we think it started somewhere in China. Definitely, we know it came out of China. What happens is the SARS-CoV-2 virus is a respiratory virus, but it causes a range of disease from mild symptoms to severe illness, respiratory distress, and death. So there's a huge range.
Okay, and I appreciate that. This one's for the pastor. Describe coronavirus versus, so this one's going to be for Pastor Stewart. If you could describe the coronavirus versus the biblical plagues that we may have read about, in the Bible and whatnot.
Right, Dr. Gay. He threw it at me. Man, I'm just gonna flat out say it. I think I said it before, I'm gonna say it again. There's no way to tell. I think it would be reckless, you know what I'm saying, to make that call, to say that this is the last days. But I would also think that anybody would be also reckless to say that it's not. Several things that we see in the book of Revelation, as much as we also see them in the book of Exodus. There are several things that are awkward that are just flat out happening, from earthquakes to the threat of tsunamis to the threat of hurricanes being the size of the entire Gulf of Mexico. I mean, time after time again, there has been a ridiculous array of earth, what the Bible calls birthing pains of the second coming of the deliverer. You almost would be ridiculous not to think that it was the last days, but you would also be ridiculous to say it was. Because the very thing that the Bible tells us, no man knows the day nor the hour when the Lord shall appear. And so I think it's a very big topic for us not to be too presumptuous, but also in the same breath, not be too reckless and say, man, it don't seem like it, but, it feel like it, just the mere fact that, it's just crazy to me how it feels like we are the cause of so many of our issues. I didn't see it happening that way. Based upon the way, we were taught it. I just didn't see it happen that way. The fires in Cali, because we're sucking the water out of the ground, the oil spills in the Gulf, and therefore the dead fish and blood all in the sea. The blood moon being more so because of pollution and not because of a lunar anomaly. There's just so many different things.
And all those planets lining up. You remember that recently? Everything
you know what I'm saying?
Up.
And then they claim that the Orion's belt is continuously getting brighter and brighter and bigger. And they ain't sure if that's a black hole sucking the life out of something or if it's actually the Lord coming again. And I mean, look, I put that up there like that because we just don't know. It's not that I do not believe. It's not that I do not claim. I'm just saying it's ridiculous for me to speculate, but it'd be ridiculous for me to ignore the evidence because we got a lot of evidence.
Understood.